nakakatuwa kasi kanina nabasa ko lang sa dyaryo, tamang-tama, na yung spokesman ng ICC, Dr. Fadi L. Abdallah, sinabi that the surrender of former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte of the ICC to the ICC was a decision entirely made by the Philippine government. And if there is any question about whether it was lawful or not, it will have to be submitted to the judges. So, mismo yung ICC, sinabi na ang Pilipinas ang nag-surrender sa dating Pangulo. Siguro, si Attorney Medina na naman, magpapasaklolo tayo. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng administrative arrest? At tama ba na sinuko ng Pilipinas si PRRD sa ICC?
Magandang umaga po, Madam Chair. Thank you for the invitation. Good morning po, Senator Bato de la Rosa. Good morning po, Senator Bongo. Going back to the question, administrative arrests. Actually, the Supreme Court has recently clarified that administrative warrants for the arrest of non-Filipinos are actually valid. But these administrative arrests apply only to non-Filipinos in deportation proceedings, at least from the case decided by the Supreme Court, it involved a foreigner. Now, we must also take note that in that recent case, that's a landmark case, because in this decision, the Supreme Court introduced an innovation. Historically, administrative arrests and deportation process are purely administrative, no court intervention. But this time, the Chief Justice, who wrote the decision, and upon the suggestion of Supreme Court Justice Marvick Leonen, they introduced a new rule. Under this new rule, even if a person, a non-foreigner, is arrested on the basis of an administrative warrant, they must still inform the regional trial court and wait for the regional trial court to issue a judicial commitment order. Therefore, there's now a duty on the part of police officers or immigration officers, even when arresting a foreigner, to bring this person to the jurisdiction of the courts. So this represents a new trend. If a foreigner should be brought to a Philippine court before he is removed from the country, with more reason that a Filipino citizen should be subjected to some judicial proceedings before surrendered to a foreign government. And as I have explained earlier, from the constitutional level, from the statutory framework, even under international law, surrender of a Filipino citizen without court proceedings may be illegal. That's not just constitutional, that's also statutory, even under international law. In fact, the Interpol Constitution itself requires some due process, the application of Philippine laws, and number two, the application of the rights guaranteed by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which includes due process. But thank you po.
Attorney Medina, so ano ang nakikita ninyo kung inaamin ng ICC na ang surrender ni dating Presidente Duterte ay isang desisyon na ginawa ng Pilipino na pamahalaan? Anong epekto nun? Ang ibig ba sabihin ay linabag yung kanyang karapatan? Kasi tulad nga ng sinabi nyo doon sa kaso ni Yuenle noong 2023, bagong-bago pa lamang, talagang kinakailangan dalhin pa sa RTC yan, meron pang proseso. 7 yata yung requirement. Kung naalala ko, ang dami-daming sinasabi doon na talagang pinagtatanggol ang karapatan mismo ng dayuhan. Eto, Pilipino pa. Ngayon, mismo yung spokesman ng ICC sabi, desisyon niya ng pamahalaang Pilipino. Hindi kami yan. So anong epekto po noon doon sa nangyari kay Presidente Duterte?
Uh, Madam Chair, just out of respect for the court proceedings, that so as not to be seen as influencing the court proceedings, I will not make my statements in specific reference to the president. If a future issue, a similar issue comes up, okay, the judicial surrender of a Filipino citizen to a foreign state or a foreign or an international tribunal would be in contravention of Constitution on several aspects, of the revised penal code on several aspects, and international law, not just the Rome Statute, the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, the United Nations, the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, and even the Interpol Constitution, if the surrender is upon the request of the Interpol. All this, the entire legal framework when it comes to deprivation of liberty requires court intervention, requires court level due process.
And by court po, you mean local court?
Yes po,
Filipino
local
court in this
domestic
case. Domestic court.
due process. The entire idea of due process is really can be simplified as follows. The police has no final authority to decide on whether a person should be deprived of liberty. That authority to deprive a person to declare that a person will be, or to decide that a person will be deprived of liberty, that is not the authority of the police. That authority is lodged only in the courts of law. The police cannot at the same time be the judge. That's essentially due process and separation of powers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's loud and clear. That the police cannot be the judge in determining the deprivation of liberty of any person. So maliwanag po yun. At kinakailangan na maliwanagan sana kung totoo na inaresto si dating presidente sa ilalim ng RA 9851, kung talaga bang administrative arresto, kung nandito sana sila, napaliwanag nila sa atin at nagkatotoo at nagkaliwanagan tayo.